What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So, at this point, we all know, of course, Paul George has departed from the Clippers. Now it's just Kawhi with James Harden without the services of Russell Westbrook also. And with that being said, you got to look at this situation from one standpoint. They have to find another star player. They can't really rely on James Harden. He's going to be good during the regular season. He's going to be valuable for them during the regular season. But in the playoffs, it just isn't his forte. And, you could say the same for Kawhi, but it's really only, of course, due to injuries, not because Kawhi can't perform at a high level. It's just that his injuries hinder him from performing from a high level in the playoffs like we've been used to seeing throughout his career. So with that being said, now some people may be surprised by the fact that the Bulls all-star or all-stars can be in the mix for a trade for the Clippers. And when I say that, the two names that come out, of course, you're always going to look at Zach LaVine for one, because Zach LaVine has been a name that's been floating out there in the offseason the last 2 or 3 seasons, or last 2 or 3 off seasons. His name's been floating out there a lot just because of, him and DeMar DeRozan and a lot of things that goes on from there. But honestly, I really think that the Clippers really probably would benefit more if they actually went with Nikola Vucevic. I mean, he's an all-star. He was a 1 or 2-time all-star player, and he's definitely a player that would fit very well with their system and everything. And of course, if that was going to happen, more than likely, they probably have to give up Terrence Mann, maybe along with PJ Tucker, which I think a lot of people would be okay with PJ Tucker, maybe not so much Terrence Mann. But at the same time, if you look at it from a standpoint of what the Clippers will be getting back, you're getting back an all-star player who can play the 5 position, who actually can play the 5 position better than Zubac can. But I mean, if you want to leave Zubac at the 5 and put Vucevic at the 4, that's definitely fine. And then you won't have to have Kawhi playing the 3 and the 4 position at times, which basically wears him down during the season because it puts a lot of onus on him because he's guarding a lot of bigger guys. And then he's going from, guys from the power forward to center position. Then he's trying to guard, guys on the perimeter also, which takes a lot out of him, just because of the usage rate, of his services on the defensive end, which, of course, it doesn't affect him much on the offensive end because Kawhi is such a good offensive player, but it just wears him down physically as the season goes on. And you need Kawhi to be at his best, especially when playoff time comes, because that's when he plays his best. And that's why he's always been one of the best performers in the playoffs that we've ever seen. So with that being said, there could be a scenario where they actually, move Terrence Mann along with PJ Tucker to get Vucevic. That's a very likely trade. Now, I don't know what they would do if they were to actually try to obtain Zach LaVine, because you would have to probably trade. Well, let's just hypothetically say they didn't get Vucevic. Vucevic was out the picture. Even if they traded for Zach LaVine, they would probably have to do Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, PJ Tucker, maybe a future pick, and maybe even throw in maybe like Amir Coffey or Brandon Boston or somebody like that just to acquire Zach LaVine, just because of how much he's owed like per year and how much, his contract is up to and worth that the Bulls had paid him before all the negativity came to the Bulls situation or locker room, which kind of like, descended everybody apart from each other on that organization. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough one to really pull Zach LaVine, but at the same time, I said before, for some reason, you've heard me say this in my previous videos, like maybe like last off season, if you want to go back and check them out. But, I've said before, I think Zach LaVine would fit well with the Clippers. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially a lot of you guys, I've, kind of like went back and forth with, in the comment section and everything, which I highly appreciate y'all's comments. So please keep them coming. That Zach LaVine really wouldn't be a good fit. I can remember talking about Zach LaVine, being a fit for the Clippers. And, it was some pushback on that. And I definitely respect the fact that you might think it's some pushback, but I definitely think Zach LaVine would be a good value for the Clippers. Now, of course, health is a big issue with him as well, technically, because he's been injured. He's had his share of injuries too. But I mean, of course, if he was able to stay healthy and kind of figure out his way, I think he would fit right along well with Kawhi. Honestly, he was just maybe a slight downgrade from what Paul George is, because I mean, Zach LaVine is an all-star. Zach LaVine has made some big shots, with the Bulls. And, he's shown that he can be a pretty decent scorer too, at times. And plus the fact that he still got his athleticism where he can get to the rim. He's still a threat to do that. I mean, he would be, somebody that they would really actually like, what I'm saying, that would fit well with, Kawhi and Harden. He really would. I mean, then on top of that, he wouldn't be coming in there probably thinking that, he's the number 2 guy and he definitely deserves these shots. His ego wouldn't be that big because, I mean, Zach LaVine seems more like a low tone type guy. But I mean, at the same time, that would be a stretch for them to get somebody like Zach LaVine. Not saying it can't happen, because when you have an owner like Steve Ballmer who's gotten billions of dollars, they can find ways to, pull some strings to get some things to happen if they really wanted to. But I mean, it's all about, the cap space and all that type stuff too. Everything plays into it. But it would be a very interesting situation if the Clippers were were able to find a way to get both players now, because that would make them a little bit more formidable as a team, a unit who can be looked at as a team that can make a run, in the Western Conference. Because when you think about the West, you need size in the paint and you need skill in the paint. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about Nikola Jokic, he's got size and skill. Well, Nikola Vucevic has size and skill. And then, you still got Kawhi Leonard, one of the top players in the league, especially what he's shown last year in the regular season. And, you still got James Harden who can distribute the ball. And as long as James Harden can monitor and like cut down his turnovers, which, he's always been fairly decent at that at times, that's all you're going to pretty much need, is that. And then, you still got Ty Lue who can make some adjustments and things like that as far as a coach and knowing how to get the best out of certain players, that can actually help. Now, of course, I need him to do better and getting the best out of Kawhi Leonard, because that's the main player and they all have to really find a way to circle everything around him. But I mean, honestly, there is a chance the Clippers can land both players or either one. Now, I would ask you, which one would you rather have, Vucevic, or would you rather have Zach LaVine? Me personally, if I had to pick, I would go with Zach LaVine, of course, because them not having Paul George, another scorer like that on their team, like they're used to having within their offense, it would actually benefit them well. They were able to pull out Zach LaVine, because he would be more of the type you would be getting back something that you lost somewhat. He's not Paul George, I would say. Paul George is a better player overall, but at the same time, Zach LaVine is comparable to Paul George because he kind of does the same type things, except with a little bit more athleticism and things of that nature. But if you think Vucevic would be a better fit, I definitely would not argue that either, because like I said, you have size and skill in the paint. You put him in the paint along with Zubac. I mean, that would be really tough for a lot of teams to come at them with. And plus, Vucevic can, he can step out and shoot a little bit as well. So I mean, don't sleep on his shooting ability. So I mean, you have those some good choices there. Now, personally, like I said, I think that the Clippers really should try to find a way to get Zach LaVine if that's their direction in this trade proposal that's come out about this whole situation. That would be good. But I mean, at the same time, if they're able to get Vucevic, that's a huge come up too. Definitely is. So, I mean, that would definitely make them a little bit more formidable than what they are now, even though I think they have some decent pieces now. I think they got some solid pieces, and I think their team is solid defensively. On the defensive end, I think they're really, really locked on the defensive end. I think they're good on the defensive end. So that's why I said, when you look at their team now, they got some long, lengthy, defensive type guys. They got Nico Batum back, Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi is still out there. You still got Zubac in the paint, who can block some shots. I mean, you got some guys, who can play some defense and things like that. And plus they got some good youth length, with Terrence Mann and all that stuff defensively. So, I mean, they have some pieces that they can use defensively that can attack any team's offense. But the main thing is you want to still be able to be more offensively inclined also and keep less pressure on Kawhi to score and play defense as well. So having another star player would definitely be the way to go. So that's the reason why I said, of course, they definitely might want to look at Zach LaVine a little bit more, but realistically, they might be able to land Vucevic more if we're being realistic, based upon what they have and the contracts and everything. Vucevic's contract, I believe it's almost up, or he hasn't even, got to the point where he's trying to re-sign. He just want to like test the market, basically, along with Zach LaVine. But Zach LaVine's contract is pretty huge because he got paid like a superstar, of course. So, I mean, it would be hard to cover his contract and bring him over unless you gave away the house almost. And I'm pretty sure the Bulls will want that because the Bulls definitely would be greedy in that aspect. But either way, it's an intriguing proposal for the Clippers, especially where they are now and how they look now without Paul George, which I still think they look pretty good. It's just that losing somebody like him still is a big thing because, I mean, that's somebody huge in the locker room. A lot of guys looked up to and a lot of guys liked and everything like that. So, I mean, getting somebody back comparable to him scoring wise will definitely kind of pick the Clippers right back up where they were offensively. And like I said, I think they'll be fine defensively, but definitely I would look more into the offense, at least at this point, for them and try to go that direction and then, see what happens as the season goes on.